People first see a video of parkour, safety is something that they always scratch their heads about. As far as sports go, parkour is definitely a lot less injury prone than a lot of other sports. Parkour in India, to the best of my knowledge, started around 20 to 25 years ago. And we think it's equally important and equally cool if you're challenging yourself with a 1-foot box or a 6-foot one. Parkour tends to force you to adapt, not to make the obstacle adapt to you. Hi, I'm Cyrus. I'm one of the founders of Mumbai Movement Academy. So, parkour. Parkour is a transformative practice. It centers around challenges that you face by overcoming obstacles, and the aim is to improve your own physical and mental abilities. Your physical abilities include learning how to run, jump, climb, crawl, brachiate, move through any kind of environment, and you will come across many mental challenges as well, which challenge your confidence, your fear, your ability to persevere in difficult circumstances. And parkour as a practice effectively is a way of challenging yourself to constantly improve. Things like walls. In the academy we use boxes, bars, really whatever obstructions the environment has to offer, and using them to develop skills. Parkour in India, to the best of my knowledge, started around 20 to 25 years ago, where people who first watched the famous French films District B13 and Yamakasi by Luc Besson, over a period of time they started practicing on their own in the streets, in their own local areas. When I discovered parkour 15 years ago, YouTube had just launched, and it started a second wave of people discovering it. Over the years, it's steadily grown from this fringe activity that people would experiment with like a foreign martial art, and it's now become a more well understood, slightly popular new sport that a lot of people are gaining awareness of through various sources. Definitely still a lot of movies like Hollywood films like James Bond and Jason Bourne, but also a lot of Bollywood films that feature actors like Akshay Kumar and Tiger Shroff. Today we've reached the point that we teach as our major activity at the academy, and there are now in, I would say, at least 10 to 15 cities in India, groups of people that teach parkour professionally, and we're probably at tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people practicing. Parkour is often thought of as similar to gymnastics, and interestingly actually they were not too different if you go back about 100 years. Gymnastics 100 years ago was a much more free-form activity where the objectives were similar: improve your physical and mental capabilities through physical practice. Of course, the primary movements were still revolved around jumping, acrobatics, and some amount of suspended work. If you look at videos of gymnastics from 100 years ago, it'll actually look very similar to parkour today. What the different paths that parkour and gymnastics take is, over the last century, gymnastics has tended further and further into standardization. They've moved into specialized spaces indoors where every aspect of the experience is controlled from the floor to the bars, whereas parkour trends more towards having less control and predictability in your environment. The aim in parkour is to actually at its best, be able to use any kind of environment around you and be able to see how that environment can provide a challenge and thereby learning for you. Gymnastics seems to have a lot more focus on excellence and in a particular very narrow domain, whereas parkour doesn't have any as strong or obvious competitive peak. It's a lot more of a personal practice, and we try to keep it that way. We try to keep it open to people of all age groups because everybody has their own challenges, and everybody can challenge themselves at their own level. One of the things we know very well is that giving kids a very challenging physical environment actually results in them being a lot more strong and coordinated. And the more we remove those challenges from the environment, the less abilities and skills they grow up with. The difference ends up creating when parkour goes more towards self-expression, exploration, and a more free-form kind of movement, whereas gymnastics has a fixed set of apparatuses, and they tend towards this more convergent approach, whereas parkour rewards and encourages a more divergent approach. When people first see a video of parkour, safety is something that they always scratch their heads about. But I like to tell people that if you look at what an expert performer in anything is doing, hell, an expert chef, what they do with a knife, if you tried, you'd definitely cut yourself. The idea is safety comes from being within and close to your own limits. As far as sports go, parkour is definitely a lot less injury prone than a lot of other sports because parkour is what you call a non-contact sport. There is obviously a class of sports that are contact sports like martial arts, boxing, things like that, where you expect to get hit and that's part of the program. But actually you find, if you look at the statistics, that the highest injury rates occur in non-contact sports that have accidental contact, like football. Running causes the most injuries, which is quite funny, even more than horse riding actually. But that's partially because, again, lack of preparedness in the people that do it results in the kind of injuries, whether acute or chronic, that you see. Parkour fundamentally, if you follow the right steps, stay within your limits and do the requisite strength and body training that you need, is a very safe sport. Great, so now you know a little bit more about parkour. One of the advantages is that it's one of the easiest sports to try. All you have to do is go out there and start jumping. That's how I started. Eventually, you get better and have fun along the way. Remember to challenge yourself and do it safely. What is Cyrus Khan signing off? Cool. Thanks.